this is Elizabeth from Gabriel Family Adventures, and today I'm going to share some advice that is near and dear to my heart, and that is about planning a destination wedding. I had a destination wedding, I've been to several destination weddings, and I think it is the way to go if you're planning a marriage and want something fun for your guests and for yourself. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. The way I'm going to structure this advice piece is I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of how to get started. It might seem really overwhelming at first, and then thinking about sort of budgetary constraints, considerations, things that you want to be mindful of. And then I'll talk about how to get started with the planning process, things to think about when it comes to your guests. Then I'm going to get a little bit into the weeds with some of the details about planning a wedding. And at the very end, I'll talk about a few big warnings that we learned through our own wedding and also from the destination weddings that we've been to. So here we go. Okay, first and foremost, why a destination wedding? Well, the reason I like it is because I think it is a wonderful way for your wedding guests to all get to know each other really well. And by the time the wedding rolls around, people are friends with each other that maybe had never even met before. You know, the people getting married, they know all of these individuals from work, from the different sides of the family, from college or whatever the case may be, but some of them are meeting each other for the very first time. So if you're hanging by the pool in Mexico or St. Kitts, you have an opportunity to get to know each other and hang out and spend some time together so that by the time the wedding rolls around, nobody's a stranger to each other. That is, unless they miss their flight and then they're showing up on the day of the wedding, which I'll get to in a little bit. But I think it's wonderful. I think it's a really fun way to combine a vacation with a celebration of love. Okay, so let's talk money. That's the most important thing. The first thing I think anyone should do, whether you're planning a wedding at home or abroad, is to set a budget and think about how long do you have to plan this wedding? Are you trying to pull this off in 6 months or 16 months? And what is a general budget that you want to set for yourself? And then if you're planning a destination wedding, also be mindful of a budget that you should set for your guests. There are lots of wedding venues out there, and it's very big business to have a destination wedding. And some of the locations are incredibly expensive. They're beautiful, they're wonderful, but it can be a little prohibitive for some of your friends if you're booking, you know, an all-inclusive resort that's $300 a night per person. So think about what is a reasonable amount that you would like your friends and family to also contribute to this event, because they'll be paying to get there. Unless you're paying for everybody, and then good on you. You're amazing. But things to think about are, you know, where is this resort that you're thinking about going to? How much is it a night per person? Is it all inclusive, or can you just book the room and then other things are supplemental? I personally like all inclusive because I like to pay for everything ahead of time and then get that part out of the way. It's just one less bill to think about. The other thing to think about when it comes to cost and planning is flights. Is this a location that's gonna take, you know, 2 regular plane rides and then a little island hopper to get to? Or is it a straight shot from somewhere like the Denver airport where you can just hop on down to Puerto Vallarta or Cabo or somewhere like that? And so it's an easy and less expensive way to get to the wedding, especially if you're inviting people who have big families. You know, are people thinking about bringing their kids with them and their spouses? And so if they have to buy 4, 5, or 6 plane tickets and book a room, what's that gonna look like at the end of the day for them? Because you do wanna celebrate with the people that you love, and you want to make it as accepting as possible and affordable as possible for people to get to the wedding. So that is something to think about. When booking an all-inclusive, I would suggest trying to find a place that balances quality of services and food with affordability. So try to keep it maybe under, say, $150 a night per person, preferably where kids can stay free, and ideally a place that is a direct flight from the major airports in the United States. Those are just my suggestions. So getting started can be really hard with any wedding planning. It's really hard to kind of get your feet off the ground. It feels like there's so much out there to plan. You know, there's books, there's magazines, there's every friend of yours who's ever been married has advice to give you. I'm giving you advice right now. Take it or leave it. But in order to get started with a destination wedding, the first thing I recommend is go to the destination that you want to get married at, preferably in the time of year you want to be married in. So say you get engaged in 1 year and you're going to plan it for the next calendar year. Go around the same time and check out hotels. You don't have to stay there, and you can kind of hotel shop, maybe spend a few days. So for our wedding, for example, we actually, right after we got engaged, we had already had this trip planned to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, and we love Cabo. We've been there many times. We feel very comfortable there. There's easy flights from a lot of different airports to get to Cabo. So we said, you know what? Let's get married here. How fun would this be? And so what we did on our trip is, we did a lot of pool time, but we also did some hotel shopping where I emailed a bunch of places beforehand and I looked at their websites. And so I set up appointments with the wedding coordinators at several different resorts where I got to talk to them about the price that it would be for each person's food, what things are included, can we get, a package rate, a discounted rate for the rooms if we bring X number of people. And so to give me kind of a sense of what this experience would be like, it was also nice to walk around the grounds at several hotels because, you're looking at, well, where will my ceremony be? Well, where will the rest of the wedding guests be who aren't in our wedding? The hotel guests, are they going to be right next to the ceremony in their bathing suits, or will it kind of be a closed off place for everybody dressed in sort of their formal wear? Those are things to think about. And what we were able to do is narrow it down to a hotel that I had actually stayed in a few years before with some friends of mine that we did have a really good experience. It wasn't that expensive per person per night. And it was a smaller resort, and I was really excited about that because I felt like sometimes those mega resorts can be overwhelming for people. And if you have 30, 40, 50 friends and family that are there for your wedding, well, what if you can't even find them because there's 10 pools and 15 restaurants, and so it's just, this crazy place. So what we chose was a resort that had 3 or 4 restaurants and 2 main pools that were kind of connected to each other, so we knew we'd be able to hang out with our friends and family for the duration of our trip. So when you're talking to the wedding planner, try to get a sense of what their responsibilities will be in the build up to the wedding itself, as well as the day of. Our wedding planner was incredible. She wasn't very expensive, and she really helped us narrow down our florists, our photographers, our DJ. We did some online searching ourselves, and in this day and age, you can find a lot online, but she was still able to kind of give us suggestions about which companies were more reputable than other companies, and that she was going to handle everything the day of, so we could just kind of get ready in the rooms. She would send the hair and makeup people to the proper room, and she handled everything. And I thought it was such a great stress relief to have someone like her there the day of. She was actually there the whole week we were there. She greeted us at the front desk when our group got in, and it was a great weight lifted off of our shoulders for sure, and definitely worth money. So the reason I think it's so important to go the time of year that you're planning on getting married, or book somewhere that you've been to roughly around that same time of year, is you need to know what the weather's going to be like. The last thing you want to do is book a resort and you're planning on getting married on the beach, and it's the rainy season and it's just a torrential downpour. Now, sometimes things happen and you can't avoid Mother Nature sometimes, but you can plan accordingly. So for example, the reason we chose Cabo is that it's mostly desert. So the likelihood of a rainstorm to hit in the middle of the summer in Cabo is slim to none. So we felt pretty secure having everything planned to be outside. Now, we did have a contingency plan of an indoor space if it something happened. But we were pretty sure that we were gonna be lucky with this and have the weather on our side. Now with that said, a desert in the middle of the summer in Cabo, it was hot. It was hot, it was sweaty, but I'd rather sweat than have the rain pouring on my head. So that was the compromise that we struck, and we're happy we did. We were at a destination wedding in Cancun during the summertime, and it poured buckets on their wedding day, and they got married inside. It was beautiful, it was wonderful, but it was a huge disappointment for the bride and groom who had been planning this for so long and were looking forward to that beautiful beach wedding, you know, that everyone dreams about. Okay, so your guests, things to think about. You got to be mindful of the people who are attending the wedding, and like I said, try to book a place that is affordable for as many people as possible. Now there's going to be some people who can't come to your wedding. Sometimes they'll tell you why, sometimes they might not. Maybe there's things going on in their lives that they don't want to divulge, and they can't make it to your wedding. You know, it's disappointing, it's sad, but there's a lot of reasons why people can't travel overseas, and try not to let it ruin your day if some of your friends and family who you really wanted to be there maybe don't feel comfortable traveling, aren't well enough to travel, can't afford to travel, or whatever the case may be. The other thing is that people are procrastinators. So if you want 60 of your best friends to come to Mexico in a year, give them some nice, gentle reminders about when is a good time to submit for a passport application and how long it takes to process that. And these are good times to buy your plane tickets, and here's some good prices that we found from this or that airport. Just to sort of get people wrapping their minds around it, maybe saving a little bit for the trip itself, talking to friends about maybe getting a room together so that you can have all of the people that you love, or as many as you can, at the wedding with you. Because sometimes, you know, people need a little nudge in the right direction, and you're the one planning the wedding. It's on the forefront of your mind all the time, so a little reminder here and there doesn't hurt. The other thing to remember about your wedding guests is that if they are flying to a destination and getting a hotel or renting an Airbnb or whatever the case may be, they might not get you a wedding gift. And that's because in their minds, the gift is them coming to this beautiful destination and celebrating with you. We didn't get very many wedding gifts after our wedding, and we had a great time. And so our attitude was, the gift was them coming. I don't really need any more wine glasses anyways. It is what it is. So just be mindful of that. And if you don't get a gift from some people, it's okay. I hope it's okay. Now, when it comes to inviting children, this is kind of a polarizing topic. Some people think it's, you know, you should always have kids at a wedding. Some people are completely against children at the wedding. They don't even have, you know, a ring bearer and a flower girl. I recommend including kids, saying that they are welcome to a destination wedding. Now, some parents may not want to bring their kids. Maybe it's, you know, a kid-free trip and they're so excited. Other people, they're going to treat this as an excuse to take a family vacation. So they're there to celebrate your love and marriage. They're also there to have a fun trip with their family. So let the kids come, and I think they'll have a great time. How can you not have fun at a gorgeous, you know, tropical destination? And then families feel more included in the experience. The other thing about a destination, especially if you're getting married in a foreign country, is that things may not go to plan. I mean, even if you get married at home and have everything dialed in, something always happens. So you might have a friend or two, in my case, that missed their flights. One of our groomsmen, I didn't know he had made it to the wedding until I walked down the aisle and saw him standing up there. I was like, oh, you made it. It happens. And maybe they overslept, maybe there was a flight delay or cancellation. So some people might not make it even though they had the best of intentions, or they just never set their alarm clock. There's other things that happen, you know, some things sometimes can be lost in translation. For me personally, I was just hell-bent on this one type of cake. I sent the recipe to my wedding planner. I brought a copy of the recipe and gave it to her when we checked in a few days before the wedding. And when it came time to cut the cake and eat the cake was terrible. It was dry, it had no flavor, it looked weird. You know what? When I talk about it now, no one even remembers that. They're like, oh, you guys had cake? So it's these little details that I think a lot of brides especially fixate on and we sort of dwell on, that if other people are eating, drinking, and being merry, they don't know. They just know that they had a good time at your wedding. So try to shake that stuff off. Try to shake off any kind of weird things that pop up, because by the time you get to your destination, it's largely out of your control. So try to let the little things go. Now, I say let the little things go. Big things are a different story. If you have a feeling that some of your friends, maybe some of your wedding party, are going to be forgetful when it comes to their packing, just pack it yourself. It's better to pay for an extra suitcase or two and get everything there than to have someone forget something. In our case, the flower girl dress that I paid for and gave to the mother of the flower girl, she didn't bring it. And we found out the morning of the wedding, so we didn't have time to go buy another dress. I should have packed it myself. I should have known better. I was just trusting that people, when I gave them their packing lists, because I am a former high school teacher, so those are things that I take very seriously, I thought they would pack properly, and they didn't. Oh, but you know what? No one remembers that either. They just remember that my flower girl was adorable, and she dropped her little bouquet of flowers, and it was the cutest thing in the world. So you know what? It's fine. But if you're a little concerned about someone in your wedding party, maybe the ring bearer or whichever groomsman is supposed to have the rings, just bring them yourself. Don't trust anybody else, because you know what you can control. So definitely pack for yourselves, and sometimes pack for your friends. Now, when it comes to some of the details, more bride-related details, I definitely think that planning ahead in anything in life is always the best policy. So for example, with hair and makeup, we used a hairstylist and a makeup artist that was suggested by our wedding coordinator. They had a relationship with the hotel. It was someone that they had used several times. They knew they would be punctual. So even though it's hard to trust booking something when you're just doing it via email out of the country, I felt really good about who we were hiring. And what I did was I sent several pictures of the hair and makeup styles that I wanted to go for to our wedding planner, and then I also brought copies so that I could have them in the room during our trial and then during the day of the wedding. And what we decided to do, even though it felt a little last minute, is that we actually did the wedding and hair and makeup trial the day before. We did it before the rehearsal dinner, and what was great about that is then I had this beautiful face of makeup and fake eyelashes, and my hair was all done for our rehearsal dinner. So that was fun. I know some people who, like to really plan in advance. That's too close to the day of the wedding. What if you don't like the makeup? But hopefully it'll all work out. Just bring extra makeup and maybe watch some makeup tutorials on YouTube or something before you go, just in case you're unsatisfied with the quality of work that's done, because it is a bit of a chance that you're taking on somebody you've never met before. When it comes to hair and makeup, because it's a destination wedding and I knew how much my friends were spending on coming to the trip, I decided to pay for their hair and makeup and give them their wedding jewelry accessories as a thank you for being my bridesmaids, and also a way to sort of help with the cost of everything for my bridesmaids, so that they weren't feeling like all they were doing was just spending. And so we all had kind of a cohesive look with our hair and makeup, and I did give them some freedom with their hairstyles. I didn't want to be too controlling, too bridezilla, but I thought it was a nice way to say thank you to these women who were so important in my life, and I was so grateful were by my side. Some more important details to think about are how much do you need to pack to come to a destination wedding? So for example, we had to pack the table labels of where people were going to sit, all of the favors for all of our guests, and for some reason we thought it would be a good idea to have 2 different favors, so we had to bring all of those. The wedding table labels themselves, I thought it would be really cute if they were framed, and I used glass frames, and half of them broke in the suitcase. So think about that. Also think about packing in advance, all of your accessories, maybe even some backup stuff in case things don't work out properly. I didn't want to trust the baggage claim with my wedding dress, so I chose to carry that on the airplane. I just, even though it was a direct flight, I wanted to be safe rather than sorry later if something happened to my dress. And so think about how many things you're going to need to pack and how many suitcases, and maybe try not to go overboard with some of the different, if you go on Pinterest, there are a million different things that you can set up for a wedding that you don't really need. What you need is good music, good food, good drinks, and good company. And you can have an amazing, amazing wedding and not spend, a down payment on a house on your wedding day, and you can still have a lot of fun. For example, don't spend a ton of money on flowers, especially if you're getting married in a tropical destination. One, the table centerpieces are going to be totally overshadowed by the fact that you're at this beautiful beach destination and there's the waves crashing and the sun setting. That's what people are going to be looking at. So go really simple. And also, if it's hot out, your flowers are going to wilt. So they might not even look that great, because if they get set up in the morning by the hotel staff, by the time you get there for dinner, they might not even look that great. So just let that stuff go. Maybe get a few little things. We had kind of tiny little centerpieces in the middle. Nobody even remembers those. And it was fine. What I did decide to do is I wanted to have some flowers in my hair, and I got fake flowers because of the wilting issue as well. So I wanted it to kind of stay looking fresh. So they were totally fake. I bought them online for about $5, and I thought it was money well spent. Something that I highly recommend spending money on is a good professional photographer and videographer. That way all of your friends can put their phones away because you have someone taking pictures, and you can say, hey, we'll share these with all of you. Put your phones away. And a videographer is great because the wedding day itself is amazing. It's so fun, but it's really kind of a blur for the bride and groom, I believe. It was for us. And so when we got our wedding video back, it was so fun to see things that I didn't even remember, or things I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They were dancing like that, or whatever the case may be. And so I thought, if I'm gonna spend money on something above and beyond, a videographer and a really good photographer, or a team of photographers, is where I want to spend my money, because then those are memories that I can hold on to, which is why you're seeing so many of our professional photographs in this video right now, because I love them so much. So spend the money on photography and videography. I think it is well worth the cost. Okay, so some tips that we've learned over the years of having our own destination wedding and going to destination weddings. 1, don't ever feel shy about asking for upgrades. If you are bringing between 20 and maybe over 100 people to a resort, ask for an upgrade. Ask for a better room. Ask for your hotel room and then another room for when, the bridesmaids all get ready, so that way when the photographer's in there, it's not, there's not clothes strewn everywhere. Ask for a private room for your rehearsal dinner. Close off one of the restaurants just for your wedding guests. And don't feel bad about this. You're bringing business to them. They're in the business of making money, and so accommodating you is part of that process. And the worst thing that could happen is they say no. That's not so bad, right? So ask for the upgrades. Also, don't worry about trying to negotiate. Don't feel bad about trying to negotiate a good price. If you're bringing a large group in, ask for a discounted rate. I did this twice. We were engaged for over a year, and so I reached out to my wedding planner 2 different times to negotiate the price down, because I felt like it was a little prohibitive for some of our friends to come, and she was able to meet me in the middle with most of my requests. And so we were able to negotiate a really good rate for the resort that we stayed at, especially considering that they went above and beyond. They closed 2 different restaurants on 2 different days for us. We did a welcoming party on Wednesday night, and then Friday night we did the rehearsal dinner. And so we closed the restaurants. We had custom menus, and they, you know, got out the slide projectors so that we could show our wedding slideshow at the rehearsal dinner. They did all of these things, and all I did was ask. And almost every time I asked, she said yes. And if she waffled a little, I reminded her how many people were coming. And then usually she would say yes. So don't hesitate to try. It's always worth trying. Now, when you're planning, and if you're like me and you're kind of an over planner, do be mindful of the fact that if people are spending a lot of money to come to this destination, they may want some time with their family and to treat it as a family vacation as well. So if you're there for 5 days to a week, plan a few things, but also leave some time for people to kind of do their own thing or have optional activities that people can opt into, but not necessarily do if they don't want to, or maybe if their mobility doesn't allow it. So for example, for us, we all flew in, most of the wedding party flew in on Wednesday, and then Thursday we booked a catamaran kind of sunset little booze cruise that we said, well, if you guys want to come, that would be great, but if you don't want to, if you want to do your own thing, whatever, it's fine. It's your vacation too. So to give people the option of not spending every waking moment with the people getting married, because it is their vacation too. So just something to keep in mind. Now, if you choose to get married at an all-inclusive resort, do remember that this is a huge warning. It means all-inclusive alcoholic beverages. So you might have some friends who really like to eat, drink, and be merry. And so just try to sort of rein it in at the rehearsal dinner and the evening before the wedding, just so that you don't have a bunch of hungover fools at your wedding. This is true of any wedding anywhere, but especially at all-inclusive resorts. So we had a little bit of this issue at our wedding, and you know, people were able to resolve it with some hydration and some food the next morning, but it could have been a lot worse. So do keep that in mind, that, you know, kind of limiting the alcoholic beverages the night before the wedding is probably a good idea. So if you can't tell already, I'm a huge advocate of going to a destination to get married. I think it's awesome. I think it's so fun, and I love going on vacation. So for me, it's just another excuse to be on vacation and to celebrate love and happiness. So if there's any questions you have or comments or things you want to add, if you've had a destination wedding or you've been to a destination wedding, please comment below, and please subscribe to this channel for more adventures in the future. Thank you so much.